welcome back for another episode of I Didn't Read Your Book. Today, we are going to be talking with a Miss Michelle Clarke about her book, Woo Woo for Women in Business. So let's dive right in and read the back of the book. Are you ready to break free from the boring business rules that have been weighing you down and holding back your results? Woo Woo for Women in Business introduces you to a whole new way to do business, your way. In this no-holds-barred business book for soul-led entrepreneurs, Michelle shows you how you can be both making a difference in the world and a badass business boss who gets quantum results, has all the freedom, and claims all the rewards. With knock your knickers off aha moments and powerful exercises in every chapter, you will banish doubt, tap into boundless energy and ideas, and see just how easy it is to grow a business that serves the world while giving you back your freedom and creating limitless abundance without the drudgery. This book is for you if it is time for you to shine, get visible, and get some money already. Very interesting. And then we've got, again, I'm sure Liz will help us and get this up there by the time this is out, but still figuring all that out. So Woo Woo for Women in Business. So this is going to be my biggest judgment on the cover, because it seems that woo woo in my circles is a synonym for bullshit. I assume that's not what she's talking about, but I just don't have any reference for that. So I definitely want to know what is the woo woo and how is it not bullshit and all of that. But yeah, it just seems like business is a very, not that women can't be in business. This isn't anything like that, but the traits that it takes to be successful in business tend to be more masculine traits, being more aggressive and cutthroat and so on and so forth. I'm not a shrewd businessman. I'm not saying it's nothing about that. But so with this book specifically for women in business, I guess the question is, where maybe do you draw the line between the feminine and the masculine? How do you do business as a woman without sacrificing who you are? I don't really know. So that's all I've got. I'm very interested. I'm very interested. I don't know what to do next. So let's just bring her in. All right, and welcome Michelle Clarke. Thank you so much for joining me on your early Monday morning. Well, it is a comfortable Sunday afternoon for me, all the way from New Zealand.
Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. Very welcome. So yes, we just finished reading the back of your book. And usually there's a couple things on the back of the book that gets my mind going. I don't mind Morty back there. But really, I think the title of your book is really what struck me the most. And as I mentioned in the solo segment, when I hear woo woo, that usually means to me, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So
I called it that on purpose, almost, calling it out, because it's not bullshit. To me, it's really real. And to the clients that I work with, like, it gets us banging results in our business. Like, we know it's not bullshit. So, but I wanted to call it that on purpose to kind of jump all over that point, that people think it's bullshit, but it's not. So it was a purposeful move.
So you're touching on things that maybe some people would throw away into that category. And are you diving more into it? And so, like, what kind of things are we talking about?
So tapping into soul, right? Like tapping into the messages that your soul or your higher self or any other beings out there happen to have for you will grow your business so much faster. But if you don't accept it as a part of life, then you're gonna think it's woo-woo. But the people who know already, like they're already getting the messages, they know that it's not woo-woo. They know that it really works. And when you look at things in the past, we didn't used to believe in all sorts of things. I mean, we used to believe that the world was flat, right? So things
some still do.
Yeah, true. Some still do, yeah.
So And then, obviously the other part of the title is the fact that it is specifically targeted towards women. And part of what I was saying in the intro was that not men and women, but in terms of characteristic and personality traits, it's usually more masculine traits that tend to lead to speaking generally, more success in that corporate business world. I mean, I'm not in it, but so I hear. So with the very pink frilly sparkles, it's. I'm very curious how you tie the two worlds of being a woman and femininity, and you have a beautiful, very feminine background there, and how that ties into business directly.
And so that's exactly it, right? People believe that they have to do business in a masculine way in order to make money, but you just don't. I mean, I'm living proof that you don't. I make plenty of money. And I don't have to, and I'm not saying that I don't have masculine energy, because I do. Like I'm a go-getter in business. There's definitely masculine energy around me. And what I'm saying is that you can wear a tutu and hang around all frilly and be successful in business. Like, it's not an either or situation. So I know that my cover and my name and everything about it is going to be a complete challenge for everyone. And that's what it's supposed to be. I want people to really challenge it. You don't have to do business in a masculine way. You don't have to do business in any kind of way that you don't want to. Business should feel fun as if. If it's not, then it just won't be as successful. And eventually you won't want to do it. You want to burn that business to the ground. If you want to be in business for a long time, and I have 25 years, then you got to make it fun. You got to make it you, all of you. And if that's a pink tutu on a flamingo, then do that.
I love it. And I really, it's obviously, I haven't read the book, but it seems like this is something that needs to be addressed, because speaking as American here, so I don't know anything about the rest of the world, so you'll have to forgive me if it's not the same over there, but the Western world, the traditional gender roles of the man working and the woman staying at home, and that's more I mean, I guess by this point antiquated is a good word for it. With that being said, while we want women to be independent and have the right to do whatever and not to have to rely on anyone else, it's, in my experience, I've seen a lot of that messaging without the messaging, the counter messaging that definitely it's great for you as a woman to be independent, self-sufficient, and successful, all those things, but tying it back to the femininity side and the social side, that's not necessarily going to open up if you're making $1 billion a year, then that doesn't really open up your dating options much. You're surely not going to be interested in me making what I'm making. And so I think what you're tapping into may be a very poignant and needed thing, as women absolutely are making huge strides and have been in the business world. I wonder what your thoughts are on how that affects like dating and society and all these things.
I honestly feel what you're saying there, and it hurts my heart that you even feel that, right? Like I'm the breadwinner in my family. I always have been. I've been married for 20 years. My husband adores house and business. Like, he adores it, and I don't care how much money he makes. In fact, I'm trying to convince him to retire. He's older than I am. I mean, he won't, right? Like, he wants to be doing things, and he wants to be doing things in the world. But honestly, women don't give a shit about money. I don't give a shit about other people making money. I can make my own. We don't.
I mean, we might have to agree to disagree on that. I don't know. These women these days, with the Tinder and all of that, it's changed a little bit. But yeah, definitely in the last 20 years, dating is not the same. But that being said,
I have to tell you, you can keep Tinder. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. So diving a little bit more into that, what is in your book that is maybe not specifically and exclusively for women, but what about it is different that would make it for women as opposed to just how to be, in business.
And it is for men as well. Like I have had a couple of men review it for me, and I coach men as well. I don't exclusively coach women, but the reason that I wanted to target the book at women is that we're the ones that are trying to do business fitting into a man's world, and it doesn't work for us. It crushes our little souls, and we get all sad, and nobody wants to be living with a sad woman. And it doesn't make their business successful. Like the masculine way of doing business works for men because it's their energy. And I'm not saying, like, we all have, I mean, you have feminine energy, I have masculine energy, right? It's all just an energy, but you should bring all parts of your energy to a business. But what makes the book specifically for women is that it taps into our core wound, and our core wound is always, we're not good enough and we need to sit down and shut up. Like women have a real problem with being visible in business because we're like, well, if we're not doing it in the man way, people are going to think we're woo-woo and flaky, which is why I called it woo-woo for women in business, right? That's what they think. If they own that energy inside themselves, then they'll be considered flaky. But let me tell you, they will not. Like the more I own my tutu and floating around on my flamingo and my pool, the better my business gets. So I want to tell them they can have it all. You really can. You can have the relationship, the money, the business, the travel. You can have all of it. It's not either or for anyone.
Awesome. I love it. And so what exactly, what kind of business or businesses have you been into before writing this?
Yeah, I have a number of businesses still. I'm a bit of a serial business owner. I was corporate for quite some time. So I've been in that field as well, but all sorts. Rental property management, salons. I've still got some salons, the business coaching, of course, clothing lines, all sorts. I've been all over everywhere.
Jack of all trades. Interesting. And so, I mean, I think this almost goes without saying, but there is obviously a through line, no matter what kind of business you're doing. Business is business. And I guess, what you were saying about the way that men do business, or the boys club type of mentality. I agree that there is a trade-off that a woman has to make by embodying more of that masculine energy and putting that feminine energy behind them to fit into the way that they think business is supposed to be done. And I guess, as as a man, I'm wondering how. So let's take an example. Let's say I have a cooking business, and I want to sell some products and a cookbook. And the typical, I'm sure there's typical channels you would go through to do that. But if I were to come to you as a woman, what kind of things, aside from the typical ways to do that, would you have to add to that?
Okay, so even if you come to me as a man or a woman, it would be exactly the same process. And what I would do with you is I'd help you to figure out why exactly you love the cooking. Like, why is it so important for you to get that out into the world, right? Like, is it because you believe deep down that food is nourishing people and they're not nourishing themselves properly, and therefore they're unhealthy and then they're a burden on society? Like, what is the real absolute reason that you're doing it? Because then once we find out what that is, then we can start talking about that and get you really visible. Once you're actually sharing your message, it creates this whole magic. Like, people are just drawn to you. They're like, I don't care what you're selling, I'm buying it because I just want some of that energy. So that's where it really gets the woo-woo and the magic going, right? It's all about that magnetism. So that's the first step that I do, is I get you understanding really why you're doing it.
So what kind of message is pulls people in? What goes into that message? I mean, obviously the reason, your reasoning in coming up with it needs to be, individual. But I assume there's some type of woo-woo magic to make it work.
You know what? There really honestly isn't. Well, I mean, there's a structure to getting to the real message. And I share that in the book. I'm like, right, do these journal prompts in the morning because it really helps you to tap into soul, and then do these steps because it will help you to figure out what the message is. But at the end of the day, it's so much simpler than what you think. It really is just truly and utterly sharing it. Like, just stopping, having space in your life so that you can stop and actually hear what's going on. Because, I mean, your mind is just talking to you all day, right?
Mhm.
Very rarely do we stop and feel what's in our soul and what's in our heart. And trust me, your heart is way better at business than your head, but we've all been taught that the head should be in charge. It can make you a certain amount of money. You can grow any business to 6 figures using your head, but it takes this to grow it bigger than that. So it's
Hmm.
taking the time to be really still and thinking, what is it that my soul people need to hear from me today? Now, that might be nothing to do with your cooking business. It might be that, hey, I'm a person and my heart is this big and I really want to share with you that I love all of you, and like whatever, and you share that, and then you just tack on your call to action at the end. And so if you really want to love yourself today, buy my cooking book with this beautiful love potion, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
And so I would, it's sounds like, an important part of business is everything besides the business, if that makes sense. There's a real holistic approach, I think, that again, men or women, that you need to take if you're going to be an entrepreneur of any kind, that is not going to cut it at just a job. Even if it's a corporate job that you're going to work for 30, 35 years and then retire from the same company, it's not the same as having your own project. And I mean, I've had a couple of my own projects, nothing really that big, but it definitely is different than, I mean, having this podcast, having my old podcast, it's very different than just sitting down and going on someone else's podcast. So how did you come to realize that not only this is the case, but that you have the way to show other people how to embody this?
That's a really good question. So working in corporate, I mean, you can't really tap into soul working into corporate because they're so task orientated. Of course,
I never even tried.
Yeah, don't bother. They've got to have a way of ticking off that you're earning your money, right? And then, so when you come from corporate and then you go into a business, people do the same thing. They try and tick off the tasks and they just hustle. And I'm going to do that because that person did that. And oh my God, I saw that on Facebook. And now, and so we're just ticking these boxes, but they're not moving us any closer to success. And we're like, why am I not making $1 million? I'm doing all the things, right? You're doing many things. You're not doing the right things. You're doing the busy things rather than the big important things. So you might do 3 Facebook posts, but really what would shift it forward is writing an article for Vogue magazine, say, right? So we're not taking the big actions. And I guess I've always known this to be my truth because I've always been tapped into soul. But when I went into corporate, and even though I worked for beautiful companies a lot of the time, not all of them, and it squashed my soul, I could see the results getting less. So I would go and do something that would make my soul expand, and then I would get better results for the company. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, it's crushing my soul. So I left and then, built my own business again, because I had businesses before corporate and then businesses after corporate. And yeah, just boom, just like that. Like, I can grow any business really quickly. And it's because I tap into soul. And I'm like, why does everyone else not get this? I don't understand why you don't get it. So then I started.
So from your first business, this was your mindset going from what you learned being in the corporate environment. And what was your first business?
Oh God, I bought my first business when I was 18 years old. Such a learning curve, such a learning curve. And I probably didn't use my soul a lot then because I was pretty much based in fear. I'm like, how am I going to pay the staff? How's it all going to work? So it was a bit baptism by fire. I wouldn't say that I probably used my soul very well then. I probably didn't really mesh together the soul parts of myself and the business parts of myself until I was in my 30s.
So I guess it's because, I would say that, there's a decent amount of people who are business minded, and there's a decent amount of people who are spiritual and in touch with that side of themselves. And I guess the question is how not only how many of those people are in both camps, but how many people are able to tap into both at the same time. I think everything that we're talking about is about bringing that soul into the business. But I think there's also something to be said about bringing a logical business mind to the rest of your life too.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. You need both. You can't have one without the other. You've got all these hippies over here. Like, you can meditate all your freaking life. It's not going to grow your business, right?
Right.
But you can be over here at the same time taking all the actions in the business, and it's not going to grow your business. You have to have the two mesh together, and you must have the two together if you want your business to be really successful and you want to have a happy life. Because over here at the business end, you can build it through hustle and paying other people, but then you wake up one day and you're like, I don't even want to be alive. Like, do you actually really want to kill yourself that way? It's not fun. And that can be as hippy dippy as you like as well, but how you're going to buy groceries. So for me, it's about meshing the two together. Like, I swear like a trooper. I'm trying very hard not to swear on your podcast.
Oh, please do. Please do. You call us all the fucking day long.
Right. So I swear like a trooper, and I float around in my tutu, but I'm a badass business boss and I bring it. And I think that's what I want people to understand. You don't have to be one or the other. You can be like, I'm a mum and a daughter and a wife, and I can be all of those things. Being one doesn't exclude me from being another. But why don't we take that logical thinking into our business? You can be spiritual and badass at business. Why do we not? Why do we think it has to be one or the other?
Yeah, a little bit of yin and yang.
Yeah.
So what kind of businesses are you working on currently?
So this is my love. Like, I really absolutely love coaching. I love writing. There's another book coming. I don't know what it is yet, but I can feel it approaching me. So it'll be interesting when it comes. Mostly at the moment, I'm running my business coaching groups because that's where I'm having the most fun. I do have several other businesses going as well, clothing business and a salon. So I don't really do too much in those businesses. I have managers that run them for me. So yeah.
You gotta hand in every little thing. That's something, as my dad is a doctor, and he was doing that, all growing up, and I was growing up, and as he as he was getting older, he loved what he was doing. He's a vascular surgeon, vein surgery, and there was, he was working in a hospital, and then went to a private practice where he could get better hours and stuff. And eventually, while he's still doing that, he learned about through going to the tattoo shop with me. Actually, he learned that he can use that same type of laser type knowledge, and there was a big market for laser tattoo removal. And so while we're going through that, I can definitely relate to a lot of things. It was kind of a family affair. We're all helping and doing our part. He's not really good with the computer stuff, so I took over most of that. And yeah, it was definitely at first a scramble to, like, all right, well, how do you do this? Like, let's look at what other people are doing. And okay, and like, for example, one of the our first year, we did a bunch of tattoo conventions around the state. Just because I was like, yeah, you want to get your name out there. And, when people think tattoos, and then you want them to think your name. So we spent a bunch of money, a bunch of different weekends. We'd go travel, spend the weekend there. I don't think we got one person from any of those. And it's just about learning, like you said, trial by fire, learning what types of things will resonate. And when we did this little, this little video with my dad actually just talking, kind of explaining the process, and we did a little skit with some of my friends, and just being more about that seemed to get people more interested in actually finding out what the actual X's and O's of the business really were.
Yeah, exactly, because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So you have to be visible plus authentic. Yeah, perfect.
And that's tough. That's a tough balance to strike. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's I would venture guess that a lot of people finding that purpose. I brought up the cooking example before, and that was just an example. But if we take the podcast, and you ask me what is really driving behind the podcast, I would say just two things: my desire to shine light on other people doing great stuff, but also selfishly to just have a platform where I can share my ideas and learn more about the world that I live in. And it's
conversations is so important. Like what you're doing in the world is really important. Starting conversations, changing people's mindsets, like that's going to change the world. Why would you not do it?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I first the first podcast I did, well, it was me and a co-host, and we're both atheists, and we want to start an atheist podcast. And so we did a couple like 3 or 4 episodes where we were like, debunking this and talking about verses in the Bible and this and that. And then we were like, I don't think we know anything else. And so that was a wall that we hit. And so we switched gears and we started having guests on, and just, the underlying theme being, well, everybody's got something to say. So let's just kind of have an organic conversation and see what comes out of it. And then we realized that that's kind of a big ask to just ask people to sit and watch you talk or listen to you talk for 3 hours or whatever when they don't know you. So I think packaging it in this way is a little bit better, but and obviously has the added benefit of shining light on the people who are doing great things out there. But it's tough, even knowing that purpose and knowing what that drive is. That doesn't solve the issues, and there's a lot of work to be. That's a starting point. That's not an ending point.
Exactly. And I mean, you still need the annual strategic plan. You still need to be reviewing your business every week, right? Like you need the goal for your podcast. Otherwise, how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
What is the goal?
So I mean, a little inside baseball here, but there's some other, this is a packaging for, like I said, what I really genuinely do think that, I'm a big consumer of podcasts, and people are always talking about their book on this podcast and that podcast, and it's just, if I were to write down every book of somebody interesting that either they mention another book or their book, there'd just be a huge long list of books and a bunch more podcasts, and that's just what I do. And the books that I have read are usually from people who I have some type of connection with, whether I actually it's their podcast or they did a podcast appearance that really resonated with me. And so with this specific part of the I didn't read your book, that's what I want for you and all my other guests, is that for somebody who might have never otherwise heard of your book, or B, would have seen the cover and walked the other way, then now they have this conversation, they see a little bit more of who you are, and that helps. But on a larger scale, I want to create a platform where I can kind of get my thoughts out and to the people who, not just the people who agree, but the people who can understand the way that I communicate and can either agree, agreeing with me would be great, but also challenge me, but in a way that is not what I find on social media. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Some real conversations, some deeper understanding.
Yeah. I just don't think it's possible. Well, let me not say that, because I definitely have had some amazing conversations on social media, but just the overall, how social media is, it's not the best platform for that. So this is as close to face as we can get for the most part these days, and the actual conversation is a lost art, in my opinion. And I think it, whether it's even if you're not talking to somebody who has done some crazy has won a Nobel Prize or has gone through some crazy event, just everybody has things to say, and we lose, like I said, we lose that without really talking to each other, sitting down and taking turns and listening to each other, and that whole the art of conversation, that thing, it's just it kind of passes by. Even even before all this lockdown stuff, and if you be out with friends, everybody's on their phone, and everybody's taking pictures and worrying about what they're going to post here and there, and it's just a very different thing than. And at 31 years old, I'm right at that age where I was in I was in the world and old enough before that was the case. And I mean, I'm like the last one. The kid, maybe 3 years younger than me, they have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm right on the edge where the whole technology takeover was happening as I was growing up. And it seems like most people are just content with where we've gotten. And not only am I not really content with where we've gotten, I don't really, looking ahead, if we continue, it doesn't seem like things are going to be that great. So any kind of change that I can get in there. And again, even if I have the most amazing thing to say, maybe a Facebook post isn't the most effective way to get it out there. Maybe a tweet lost among a million other tweets isn't the best way to get it out there.
Sounds like you're starting to tap into your soul's purpose. Real conversations in the world. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Wish me luck.
I don't think you need luck. I think you found your purpose. You don't need luck to find your purpose. You do not.
So I mean, you see what I'm doing here. So what kind of, just right off the cuff, what kind of advice would you give me, thinking from a typical male business is business type of mentality?
I would ask you how you're going to monetize this. I'm like, you've got a big purpose in the world, right? And when you do your purpose, you deserve to make money from it. Like there's no limits on money, just like there is no limits on air. Like if I'm standing here on my deck in New Zealand soaking up the vitamin D, you're not missing out on the vitamin D over there in America just because I'm taking some here. There's enough, right? There is enough. So no more lack thinking, but how do you want to monetize it? Like clearly you're here to get people really connected back into their souls and connected to each other. I think that's such an important job to do in the world. Now, how will you monetize that? Will you begin a men's coaching group on where you help them to actually really find their real message and share that on their own podcast? Like, how are you going to monetize this and make it bigger? So you've got this, but how do you take it to that? And then, don't even worry about the details. Just worry about like, if I snap my fingers and in 10 years time, you flash forward and you've got everything you truly and utterly desire, what would that be? Would you be traveling around the world, speaking on big stages? And would you be holding these beautiful retreats where people are getting to speak to each other and have real conversations, like just go wild? And then once you've got the big wild vision, then you go, okay, how do I actually chunk that up? If that's the big vision there, what would be, if that's my 5-year plan, what would be the first 1 year, the second 1 year? Like the first 1 year might be actually monetizing the podcast. So asking people to be patrons for your podcast so that you've got some money to do some marketing and do some other things. Then the second year might be building an online coaching group. Do you see what I'm doing? Like I'm chunking it up.
Yeah, definitely.
The first chunk and you go, right, what do I need to get people to start paying me money? Right, I'm going to ask all of my guests to start paying $5. I'm going to put a Patreon link below so that people can start. That's where I'd start.
And so something that I've been coming across as I've really been how do I want to say this? As I've been putting this into motion and realizing that when you're going to commit to any kind of project like this, that it's not always going to be fun and easy. There's a lot that goes into it, and I'm the kind of person who's always looking for shortcuts. And I think the part of my big maturation as a person has been realizing that while it's good to work smarter, not harder, there's a thin line between cutting corners, being lazy, and that stuff, and being effective. And I think that's something I don't know how many people can relate to that, but I think the one of the big pieces of looking at the larger goal is breaking it down into more manageable things that seem more achievable in my head, because I've wanted to I wanted to have a podcast years before I started it. That one was ended a few years ago, and I wanted to get back into it, and I wasn't really sure how to do it. Eventually I'd like to write a book about, just like things that I think about, but I don't really know how to frame that. So that's still, yeah, that's still in the big picture. So I'm not quite nailing down the details of that part yet, but I am definitely looking forward. And putting in the time is something that I'm sure you would agree that comes much more naturally when it's something that you're passionate about. And I think there's been so many things that I've had to do, just not me specifically, but just as growing up, chores when you're a kid, going to school, going to all these things, going to jobs you don't like. And in those circumstances, it may be more appropriate to take what would be considered a shortcut or whatever. But when it comes to your business, not only do you not want to do that because you're passionate about it, it's that much more important that you really do, cross all your T's and dot all your I's, so to speak.
See, now I'm all about being lazy. Really, I mean, like I'm not lazy. I work
please
I'm
give me a reason to be lazy.
I'm all for the shortcuts, so I can get out there and be floating on my flamingo in my pool or riding my horse. I'm all about taking the shortcuts. And here's the thing, right? Yes, you do have to take action, but it has to be aligned action. It must be aligned action instead of just busy work.
Aligned action. So, what do you mean by aligned action?
Yeah. So for you, aligned action is speaking, right? Like you love speaking. You've got some things to say, but writing a blog might bore you to absolute freaking tears, right? So if you write a blog, you're going to crush your soul. You're going to tank your energy. So then your business isn't going to grow anyway. You're better off to go, fuck the blog. I'm just going to turn up and do a live on Facebook because it's talking, or I'm going to record another podcast, or actually taking a big bite out of the elephant that's actually really going to get me where I want to go would be, I would reach out to, like for me, like Oprah's my like idol, like reach out to Oprah and ask if I can, work in her mailroom or something, So think about where you want to go. What is the one big action that you can take? Because a big action doesn't necessarily mean 3 hours of work. A big action is something that scares the fucking pants off you. Those are the right actions.
Just sitting on that. I think because I'm trying to determine what I think that would what that would mean for me. And I mean, maybe it would just be reaching out to certain authors that I would assume that wouldn't want to be on a small podcast, and maybe they just say they say yes, and then I blow up. Or is that kind of what you're getting towards?
I'd come up with my 100 list, right? Everyone should have a 100 list of who they want to work with. Like write down the big, juicy, famous people you want to work with and start reaching out to them. And when they don't respond, reach out again. Like just keep taking the actions. And honestly, writing the book, I'd pen out a whole day in my calendar, and I'd be like, I'm just going to float in the pool today. I'm just going to ride my horse, and by 3 o'clock that day, I'm going to have the idea for my book and the outline of the chapters. And then I just float around all day, and then probably 2:30, I'd be like, oh God, I better write it down. And I'd write it down because my energy's now clean because I've done whatever I wanted all day. I'd get the chapters, and then from that day forth, I'd write for half an hour every day, whether I felt like it or not. That's how I'd write a book. That is how I write a book.
And that's really where, again, as maturing and realizing that, the discipline that it takes to really do anything that matters is a skill in and of itself. And I'm learning that I don't have that skill. I'm working on developing that discipline. But like you say, I'm going to float around the pool, and then at 3 o'clock I'll do whatever I have to do. I'll be like, all right, so I gotta go to work at 5. That means I gotta leave by 4:30, which means I gotta get up and get dressed by like 4:10. So I'm gonna sit here till 3:45, and then I'm gonna get up. And then it's like, well, I really don't need to get up till 4:10. And then I'll just rush and get up. And then, I get everything done, but and the plans always gets pushed to the last minute. And I think because I don't let it, interfere with, like I'm not going to be late to work, but I am gonna, push everything to the last minute. I think that it's been something that I've been able to balance, and I was thinking of that as a good thing. And while it is good that I have been able to balance it and not fuck everything up, it's really allowed me to atrophy that discipline muscle. And it's tough, you know, just, I mean, and literally anything, doing anything every day is, that's a task for me to, I mean, you know, aside from.
So then what you do is you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like I do, and you take all of your big important actions. Honestly, the secret to having enough energy and the motivation to do it is getting up early. Like there's whole heaps of studies done, like on getting up early, it does something different to your brain, right? Obviously you need to go to bed a bit earlier, but getting up early and exercising, because it motivates you, it turns everything on. And then sitting down at your desk and taking the 3 actions that scare you the most in your business. And then you can take the whole rest of the day off.
I'll tell you how far behind that I am. I want to, you know, I'm only 5'4". I'm a short dude, and I'm not, so definitely I need some type of definition if I ever want a chance anyway. So, but I've never, I mean, maybe stepped into a gym 3 or 4 times in my life. It's not something I want, I want to do. Obviously I want to be in shape, and
Just
obviously
take that
being,
beautiful dog behind you. Just take that beautiful dog for a walk.
yeah, but then he gets all the attention, and I get ignored. But I tried, you know, last month I was like, all right, this is enough. This is stupid. I'm a 31-year-old man. I need to have a workout regimen. This is silly. All right, every day I'm just gonna get up and just 10 push-ups. That's it.
Yeah.
I think I lasted like 4 days, and I was like, all right, I think I forgot one day because I was working early, and then I was like, all right, I remember while I was out, I was like, all right, I forgot, but I'm gonna do it when I get home. And then I was tired when I got home. I was like, all right, I'll just do 20 tomorrow. And then I didn't do 20, and then I had to
That's the trick. Honestly, you've got to do it every single day. If you want a routine to stick, you just do it every single day, and hook it onto something else. Like before I clean my teeth, I do 10 push-ups. And just make it a personal policy. Like you don't want to be walking around all day without clean teeth, right? So you will just do the press ups because you want clean teeth.
Right. And yeah, and like I said, it's a hard lesson that I'm in the process of learning, and you know, the way that I've made it work, I think up until this far, is to account for my laziness, and like, you know, set dead, like for when I was in college, let's say I have something due on the 15th, I'm going to set that deadline to the 10th. I'm still probably not going to start it till the 9th, but and I probably still will finish it on the 10th or the 11th, but then, you know, then it works out that way. And so instead of trying to work around it's the actual just telling myself, even though I know I could put it off and still whatever, don't. I know it in my mind, but actually getting there to do it is the block. There's just a.
Are you just trying to conform to what you think other people think you should do? Like, what's the problem? Like, if you're succeeding and getting done what you want done, is it a problem that you do it your way?
Well, I mean, no, as long as it's getting done, but I couldn't tell you last time I did a push-up. So if it is getting done, then sure, fine. But you know, it's again, like with work and with school, those are things that, you know, the consequences are big enough that I'm not going to, you know, fail out of school. I'm not going to lose my job because I want to stay in bed for another 20 minutes. But you know, if I don't do any push-ups today, is anybody going to die? Is anybody? And this is the kind of rationalization that I've gotten so good at, that it's really become a task to be aware of it in the moment and try to battle it in that moment.
You know what? Are you asking yourself if you feel like doing the push-ups? A lot of my clients do this. They're like, do I feel like I'm not? Whoa, mistake. Never ask you.
Maybe,
never ask
yeah.
yourself if you feel like it. Like my phone is not beside my bed. I have to actually get out of bed and go into the bathroom to turn off the phone, because then I'm up and I'm out. And
I think I would die as a millennial doing that.
I don't ask myself, do I feel like getting on the treadmill? Doesn't matter if I feel like it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, write that down. Don't ask yourself. Tell yourself.
Yeah. And have an alarm on your phone that's really fucking annoying, and don't put it beside your bed.
Yeah, that's that's very cool. I definitely you know, I really wasn't sure what I was like, oh no, we're going into woo-woo and business don't seem to mix, but
I was
um
um,
I got it. I don't know. I was like, well, let's see. But clearly it's a very grounded message that you have, and you know, the point isn't about, you know, again, the secrets or the shortcuts. It's about understanding this message of authenticity and you know, holistically approaching business as a whole person. Is that correct?
exactly it. You nailed it. I should have had you write the blurb on the back.
Perfect. So is this your first book?
No, I've written another book called Woman Up, another book for women. My publisher's a male. He loves them. He's like, I love these books. It's like, yeah,
Great.
so everyone. They're just called, yeah. So that's Woman Up is about really owning who you are. Like, it's for women that have sort of been in corporate and they've been squashed down and they've been raising their kids for years and serving their husbands, and they just wake up one day and they're like, who the hell am I? Like, it's a reawakening book. So I suppose it's kind of like a series, really. Awaken and then figure out how to do the business properly.
There you go. And I'm always interested, just because, like I said, I'm looking to eventually publish something. The publishing process. Did you go through like through a publisher? Did you do it independently? How did you go about it?
I've got a publisher here in New Zealand. I can't be bothered with all that stuff. It would bore me to tears.
That seems to be the trade-off, is that you know, if you really want to sit down and go through and do it yourself, there are definitely benefits to that, and definitely monetarily. But at the same time, if that's not your cup of tea, so to speak, then probably makes more sense to go through a professional. Does that?
My publisher's really good. Like, he's on the back of the book. So if anyone wants to publish, use my publisher. He's super good, super good.
And what's his name? I want to give him a shout out.
The publisher is Jez Media, and his name is Gerald. He's absolutely freaking amazing. And of course, everything's cheaper here in New Zealand. Just saying.
Cheers to Gerald. And so does what, you know, when I say publishing, I really am talking about everything from because I don't know if it's technically accurate, but I'm talking from everything that once you have your book done to it being on the shelves and on Amazon. Is that even accurate? Is there another word that would encompass publishing and, I don't know, distribution, or is publishing really a accurate term?
They're two different things. So publishing gets it to sit on the shelf and to sit in the Amazon store, and then distribution and marketing is something entirely different.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So with your publisher, then, is it, you know, as opposed to going independently, does that open more doors for you?
Well, I mean, you've got someone else on your team helping you. Like, my publisher's pretty good, like at pushing out ideas and, you know, and kind of motivating you. I wouldn't imagine most publishers are like that. They kind of published it and then it's handed off to you, and you either pay someone to do your marketing or you do it yourself. But here's the thing with marketing: no one is going to market for you like you market for you, because you're excited about your product, right? And it's not hard to market for yourself. It's really not.
Very interesting. Well, I mean, this was a fantastic conversation. I've definitely gained a lot. And I think that, you know, your message is one that, you know, like we've been saying, is for anyone, but, you know, especially for, you know, young Western women looking to be independent, boss bitch, all of that stuff. There doesn't need to be this trade-off where you need to become this, you know, be in the boys club and be the man. That there's a whole world of business that is for feminine women, and you know, not just if you know, pencil skirts and all of that. If that's you go, girl. We're not, you know, nobody here is knocking anyone, but you know, as I was alluding to, you know, as a young single male, obviously where my mind is, that's not necessarily the most attractive thing that I think of is you know, how much money you have, because I don't necessarily have that much money. And if you have a very strong business mind, then you know, I don't know how chill it's going to be hanging out just watching a movie. Whereas
honestly, I would so challenge your mindset on that, because women are just looking for love, the same as men are looking for love. Honestly, me and my friends, us old people, we went out nightclubbing one night to celebrate something. It was so funny, dancing with all these young people, and the boys are like, oh, we're just trying to find someone to love, and the girls are like, oh, we're just trying to find someone to love. I'm like, oh, you young people, come on, you're all just trying to find someone to love. Nobody cares about the money or what you do. Like, deep down, we just all want a soul connection.
Yeah, that's what they all say, but I'm a cynic. I'm a cynic. Well, either way, whatever effects it has on dating, it definitely will have great effects on business and apparently if society, because if people are doing things that they're passionate about, not only will they create better things for the rest of us, but they will live more fulfilled. And the more fulfilled people we have, that's just better. I mean, I don't really know how to slice it any other way than that. People, if we're happy, then we're happy, right?
And we're nicer to be around. When you're happy, you're a nicer human being.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to give the floor to you. If there's anything, any final message that you have, any socials, any all of that stuff, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, this is launch month for me. So if you go and buy my book on Amazon, if you go and search it and buy it on Amazon right now, you go in the draw to win a $2,500 coaching package. Plus, you get to pick any product you like off my shop. If you go to info@empowermentempires.com and go to the shop, you get to pick anything you like. All you got to do is buy it on Amazon, send me proof of your purchase, pick anything you like.
Free stuff. Who can turn that down? Free stuff, business advice in the package of soulful advice. It doesn't get much better than that. So I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much for coming. I love this conversation, and you gave me a lot to think about. I definitely I'm going to need a minute to sit on a lot of this information, and I think it's going to help me be less lazy. And when I need to be not lazy, but I'll still definitely be lazy. So don't you worry.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I've had so much fun talking to you. It's been fabulous.
All right. Well, you have a good one. And I will definitely have to have you on again.
I'd love to be on again.
Take care.
All right. So hopefully the sound was all right. And I don't know, I couldn't hear her through the headphones with the mic, so we just went through the laptop. So hopefully that doesn't sound like shit, but if it does, deal with it. So that was a lot more of a grounded conversation than I expected. I didn't, like I said, I didn't really know what to expect, but when you hear woo woo, especially in coming from my background, I didn't know if she was going to be talking about you know, just kind of bullshit, you know, talking about how you got to envision it and you know, if you just believe and stuff like that. But that's not at all what it was. And, you know, as you know, she is from New Zealand, she's married. So, you know, having a conversation about my experience with, you know, modern dating in America didn't really seem apropos. But I really do think this type of messaging is going to be, or has the potential to be a real game changer. And, you know, something that I think we as a country in America have, in a lot of the Western world, as we've accepted more liberal values that were good and are good, we have kind of, you know, the pendulum swings too far either way, and there's unintended consequences. So while it's amazing that people of different races, genders, and all that are equal under the law and have equal opportunity, all that stuff, that is what we want. Please do not get it twisted. I am not saying anything about, I'm not bashing anybody, but when you have a populace of women who are highly educated and making and very successful in the business world, that does have an effect, as we've seen from the numbers, on marriage prospects. And then you throw Tinder into the mix, and you have a bunch of independent, educated, high earning women, and they are not interested in the average guy, and it leads to a concentration of interest into very few men, and then they good for them, but as far as the women go, they end up alone, and so do the guys, and it's not good. Marriage rates are down. Single parenthood households are up. And while I didn't necessarily feel like it was appropriate to really get into all of that with her, I did want to get more about the content of what she was talking about. But after talking to her, that's really where I think this type of thing, if plugged into society and really taken up, and business and making money not being such a masculine thing, or OnlyFans, then it will enable people, women specifically, to have in the perspective of potential suitors. It will allow women to maintain that success and that drive without sacrificing the feminine energy and the femininity that men are attracted to. So I don't know. We didn't get necessarily into the particulars of what she wrote in the book. So definitely you'll have to pick that up to see exactly what she has to say and what she has to tell you. But in terms of, just finding your passion and following it, I think that's a message that it's, I don't know, it's something that is not simplistic, but it's very primal. And it seems like, while it is simple, it's very hard for us to tap into with everything that we have going on. And think of whatever comes to your mind when I say the modern world, that is keeping us away from our authentic selves. And tapping into that, finding out what drives that, and using that to make a living, instead of pushing that to the side to indulge on the weekends while we go to a soulless job, I think will just lead to better stuff. We will just be happier people. That just will be better for all of us. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Am I talking out of my ass? Did you like what she had to say? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning into another episode of I Didn't Read Your Book. I'm Lutch, your host. Please give it a like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, IDRYBLutch. And I want to give a special thank you again to Michelle Clarke. Please go buy her book, Woo Woo for Women and Business. And we will see you next time.